Hello and welcome to episode 19 of At the Table. My name is Helen and today we're talking on the subject of navigating infertility. And I have my very good friends here, Sarah and Elliott. So hi Sarah and Elliott.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us today. I've just got a few questions to ask you around this subject, if that's all right. So firstly, can you talk to us about the journey of wanting a baby?
Yeah, so we got married in 2018 and a year later we wanted to start trying for a family. So we did. And it wasn't really happening. So we were trying for maybe about a year and thought, oh, okay, this isn't happening. So we went for some tests. As you do with the GP, and then they just referred us on to a few things. I had a few tests, some more invasive. Elliott had a few tests. And basically, it just came back that it was unexplained, which annoyingly, it made me feel worse because there wasn't really a reason. So sometimes, when there's a reason, you can kind of work through it a bit and everything like that. But it was, that was quite hard to navigate. And then we obviously kept trying. And then eventually the doctor referred us on to IVF. And I think with IVF, it was more of a, we did feel a bit more I felt a bit more in control with
definitely.
I think because we had an option. All along through this, obviously we were praying and wanting to have a baby, and we thought, we will have one. But going through IVF, we thought, right, this is a helping hand in a sense. That's how I tried to think of it. So we started that. Which was quite a long process. I say long, and it was actually quite a short process to start with, which I was quite shocked at. I think it was like 6 weeks of drugs and bumping up the ovaries. Basically that happened, and they took some eggs out, and I got a good number, which I didn't really know at the time. I had no idea about IVF, neither of us really. And we didn't really know anyone close to us either that went through that. You hear of people, but I didn't know the ins and outs. The numbers were good, which I was really pleased about and thank God for. To put a long story short, they did put an embryo back in. At that time, this was in like 2021 now. And it didn't work, which was quite disappointing. But I feel like we kind of prepped ourselves a little bit, not for disappointment, but we did have hope. But it's a tricky situation, IVF, and it's not always guaranteed a baby. That was quite hard because a lot of people, are you excited to start IVF? You're going to have, and it isn't guaranteed. So that was hard to navigate. And then we had another embryo put in, a good few months later. We kind of had a bit of a break, which worked. So that was a big relief, and that was amazing. And then I miscarried at just literally under 12 weeks. So that was quite hard because we had to go through that as well.
Just in particular on that as well, just in more detail, it's that the way that we found out as well was quite sad, really.
It was at the 12-week scan, and it was literally like a few days before then, I think, because I suffered from hyperemesis, which is where you hyperemesis gravidarum, I think it's called, where you vomit continuously. So I was pretty much in bed for 7 weeks. It was really hard. So on the top of everything, I had that, which was horrible. But at the same time, we were really glad that it was happening. So the sickness did stop, and then we went for a scan, and then it was the words, there's no heartbeat, will always stay with you.
You didn't want, I didn't want to believe
No,
them,
we didn't want to believe it.
I wanted a second opinion.
You did.
You have every bit of hope that that they're going to be wrong, really. So.
And it was hard because we did question, didn't we? We didn't question, but I did. It was very much like, oh God, why is this happening? We've gone through IVF and we've been waiting for this baby, and then it went, and that was really hard.
Yeah.
And obviously miscarriages are so common, like loads of people have been through them. But just the lead up to it was quite a lot.
Yeah.
And then so that happened, and then we had a bit of a break, didn't we? Or did we?
We had a few months, and then you wanted to.
We had a few months.
You were personally quite keen to jump straight back on it, wasn't you?
On.
Yeah.
I kind of thought, my body was kind of in that, so I thought let's go for another transfer. We did have altogether 4 in the freezer, but just to let everyone know. So we went for another transfer, and I think we did rush into that. I rushed into that one, and I don't feel like I did put God first in it all, but I was very much like, right, let's do this again. And I did pray about it, but I felt that I didn't know.
Well, it's a frustrating time, isn't it? It's hard to
I felt like I didn't
to evaluate it sometimes when you're in it. So
I felt
we just wanted, not we didn't want it just done, but we were waiting so long.
Yeah.
It's
frustrating.
Yeah.
So then that one didn't work, and then we had a bit of a break.
Then we had quite a bit of a break.
10 months of just nothing. Went on holiday and just enjoyed our lives, I guess, in a sense, and just thought, right, it will happen when it will happen. We'll try again at some other point. And then
it's hard because it's all consuming.
It does consume you.
And to say otherwise, for other people it may be different, but for us, for me personally, when it's something such so precious as that, it's and so normal that it seems so normal for everyone else. It's hard not to think about it, even in those times of stepping away and having a bit of a break. It's always at the back of your mind, isn't it?
The biggest thing a lot of people would say just don't think about it and it will happen. And the more you hear it, it's like, oh.
Yeah. Easier said than done.
It's very much easier. When you're in the midst of it all, you do forget about it and you do other things and carry on. But that was quite hard. And then obviously we then had another transfer like 10 months later. And I felt like we prepared a bit more for this one. And we, like, you fasted and we prayed a lot and we thought, right, let's do it. I think we're ready. And then, that one worked.
Yeah.
I did have the sickness again, which was awful, but that was fine. And then the sickness did stop at like 14, 15 weeks, which panicked us.
Yeah.
And I'll always remember thinking, I'm so sorry, Lord, I doubted. But in my mind, it was like, sickness has stopped. It's not there anymore. And it was like a traumatic.
Because the first time that obviously happened, it was a miscarriage. That was our only point of reference.
So
sickness easing.
So we booked a scan, and
how many private scans did we go for?
We had quite a few private scans. For reassurance as well. But each time I was like, sorry, Lord, I do trust you. But it's really hard to go through that in your mind. And we went for that scan, and if everything was fine, which we couldn't believe.
Each time.
We didn't believe, but it was hard. And then it all happened, and we have you. So that was the 4th transfer. So quite a long story, sorry.
It is, but you probably that's probably a short answer.
It's a very short one.
In a lot of ways. Saying it sounds so quickly, but that was over a 4-year period. So it was a long time.
Yeah.
It felt a long time at times.
Oh yeah. And did you ever stop worrying through that pregnancy? Was there ever a point where you're like, okay?
I did. It took a while. I think it got to maybe 20 weeks, and I thought, okay. And when I could feel him inside, I was a bit more reassured.
Yeah.
I thought, this is okay. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
And
you felt you had a promise with that one as well.
I did, So when we were going through all of that, and before that transfer with Ewan, I did feel like God dropped on my heart in a sense. It wasn't like a whisper; it was just like a on my heart. And he said that you will have a son, and for him to feel that, and part of me thought, oh my gosh, is that God or is that just me? Because I was reading the Bible a lot and reading about different women that were struggling with infertility, like Hannah, and I was a bit like, is it because I've just read that and I feel that I'm going to have a son.
Yeah.
But I really did feel like he said that to me.
Yeah.
So I said that to you, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, that did give me very much reassurance. I thought, well, yeah, we will have a son then. And we did.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So that was nice for you in a sense. I guess I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't have that confirmation, so I was obviously trusting what Sarah felt.
Yeah.
But I don't feel there was any a point for me. Maybe because obviously I'm not feeling the baby.
Yeah.
There was never a point where I ever felt relaxed.
Really?
No, you weren't relaxed.
Probably not until after the birth.
Yeah.
Which was still, which is another story. But at no point did I.
Until he was
It probably got worse and worse.
Yeah.
The closer it got.
Yeah.
And I got better and better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So not for me.
No. But amazing that he's here now.
Yes. Yeah.
So how did you feel when you were told having a baby may not happen for you? And how did you feel when others around you were having babies?
Yeah, so on that one, when we first, rewind back to the start of the journey, we obviously both go for the tests that they can do. It's a little bit more difficult with a woman what tests they can do, but for a man it's obviously quite easy.
Yeah.
You give a sample.
Yeah.
They do the checks, but I can still like remember where I was to this day, the job that I was on.
Yeah.
Probably 4 or 5 years ago. And I got a phone call from the local GP, and he says, "Oh, your test samples come back." I went, "Okay, brilliant." He says, "Oh, I've got bad news." He says, I don't think you'll ever be able to have children."
Wow.
So at this point,
It's mad a doctor saying that.
Yeah.
The feeling that it gave was obviously great sadness. So I can just remember being in tears, really, at work, receiving this phone call, and then obviously just asking questions, wondering why.
Yeah.
So we went into further detail. There's different reasons for basically you have a sperm count. You have
It's like the shape.
the shapes and they can be
there's all
morphed
different
wrong. There's all different things. Basically, it says every point was not good for me. The count was low. They call it like a deformed sort of thing. That wasn't that the percentage of that was higher than what it should be.
Yeah.
So at that point, I thought it's just like you got the weight of the world on you really at this point. So, but then moving forward from that, we kind of then went into another journey of praying again, praying, fasting, and then also changing the lifestyles as well.
Lifestyle things,
not that I drink much, but drink was kind of knocked on the head. I loved a hot tub or a hot bath. Love them.
Yeah.
So they got put on stop.
Yeah.
Pains me. So then we ended up going. So I ended up going for a test. What was that? They usually say 3 months. It was
I think
sooner
we
than
did
that,
it.
wasn't
I think you
2
did it
months?
in like about 7 or 8 weeks. Yeah.
And so we got the retest, and then these results come back better than average.
Yeah.
So
it's amazing.
Whether or not it was just a bad sample at the start, or if that was what it was, and then it did change. I don't know, but obviously it was an answer to prayer at the time.
Yeah, definitely.
And it was hard because then, like, sounds weird, but it was kind of on you for that bit.
It was, yeah.
And that was horrible.
Yeah.
And I was a bit like, oh gosh, and trying to support you. And then when you were okay, it's like it went then back onto me, because then there is something that's not happening. So I was like, oh no, it's me. It's so hard to like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think always as a husband, you always just want to be able to provide the best for your wife. So not being able to do that that was tough.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I always can provide whatever we need. So it's almost being in control. I always feel like I'm always in control.
Yeah.
of our needs.
Yeah.
But at this point, there's just no control.
Yeah.
Which is a horrible feeling, really.
Oh yeah.
And I think seeing the word unexplained infertility on paper,
Mm-hmm.
for me, that
got you,
hit
didn't
me.
it?
Yeah, just seeing it on paper, I was like,
Mm.
oh my gosh, this is real.
Yeah.
And it's, that this is what's happening.
Yeah.
And then I guess referring to the second part of the question of seeing
Oh, yeah.
other people get pregnant.
Yeah. There was a lot of, obviously we're at that age, and a lot of our friends, obviously, did have babies. Pretty much everywhere you looked, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was hard. But at the same time, you want to celebrate with them
Yeah.
because it will make it, if you hold it, in and it can make you bitter.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be like that. So I used to be quite like, no, that's not how I'm going to be. I'm going to be happy and for them, and it will happen. But it's just at this time, it's their happiness, and I'm happy for them. And it was hard.
Yeah.
And there were days where I was like crying and thinking, why not me? And it happens. But then you ground yourself and think, no, this is it's going to be fine. And I was happy.
Yeah. But I remember looking from the outside, like no one would have known that you were not celebrating with people. Like you were very good at being supportive for people, whereas I know that it would have been so hard for you.
Thank you.
Not having.
I probably didn't feel like that at the time. I probably felt like, oh gosh, I don't want to come across that I'm not. It's good that I didn't, but it was hard.
Yeah, I can imagine it was. Yeah,
cover that up.
Yeah. How did your faith help you through this time? I know you've spoken a little bit about it, but
yeah, I think overall, God was in the whole thing at different stages and helped us through different stages. And I think it's easy to say, oh, why did God make us wait all that time? But it's in His timing.
Yeah.
Everything is. So
which is not nice.
It's
not nice at the time.
It's not nice because we want it now.
Yeah.
And then,
we want to be in control.
Why not?
Yeah, exactly that.
But I think it's definitely our faith has grown so much in that time, but it's been hard.
Yeah.
Throughout it, but we remained faithful.
Yeah.
And
we did.
We knew we were going to have a child at some point.
You was probably more confident in that than myself.
Yeah.
I don't know if I had 100% confidence that it was going to happen. Even though obviously I was praying about it. Not all prayers answered. So I always had that in my mind that it might not be what God wants for us, even as much as we want it.
Yeah.
And for me, like the song Waymaker, that kind of puts into words kind of where I felt I was at that time.
Yeah.
Even when I don't see you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it felt for me personally.
Yeah.
But still trusting in Him continuously throughout.
Yeah. I think, and because it's such an anxious time, like it's the verse Philippians 4:6-7, be anxious for nothing and by prayer and petition. I think that verse stuck with me all throughout, the very well-known verse. But I think, we definitely have grown.
Yeah, I feel my faith was probably at its strongest in those times.
Yeah.
You're like trusting God and
You continuously.
You have no control.
No.
I have no control.
Yeah.
No.
So I'm having to be 100% reliant on God.
Yeah.
Which is great in one hand, but then in another hand, it can be quite an anxious sort of period as well.
Yeah, definitely. When you're in it, and when you come through it, you're like, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Is there anything that you learnt going through all of this?
One word that comes to mind is patience.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Definitely patience.
Yeah.
I'm not a very patient person. Sometimes I am, but not always. And I think that, because the whole journey is just long, and IVF isn't just a quick thing, and nothing in this has been quick. It's just been a long waiting process.
Yeah.
And I think being patient with that, I think that's definitely something I've learned.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? Because you if it still hadn't have happened, now obviously it has, and we've been incredibly blessed. At the time, it's all right to say, "Oh, be patient," but it's hard.
Oh yeah,
It's
and you don't
hard.
know how long that's going to be.
You
for
don't
now.
know how long that's,
Yeah.
and it's month after month. Like I can remember at the start, Sarah saying, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna come off the pill and we'll start trying." And
Yeah.
First month, and you were like,
3 months passed, and I
what
was
happened?
like,
I'm like, no.
Yeah.
what's happening?
Yeah, we
Like,
expect it to happen
yeah,
pretty much
like, I
straight
just
away,
saw,
don't you?
and the amount that you learn, like when
You're at
Wi-
school and
wi-
when you're a child. And
when women are like ovulating, or
Yeah.
it's just like, what?
Yeah.
Like there's a certain time.
Yeah.
Like I just thought it just happened.
Yeah.
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 What was the question again?
What have you learned through
What have
this
I
time?
learned? I kind of went on a bit of a detour there.
I think what you've said as well is you've learned to lean on God, haven't you?
Yeah.
'Cause-
Yeah, exactly.
Because you've
definitely.
Yeah.
And God,
Yeah.
God also provided us with great friends and
Yeah,
great
the
support
support
around
we've
us.
had.
Obviously,
Oh,
you
gosh,
you
yeah.
guys were incredible during that journey,
Yeah.
you and Josh.
Yeah, amazing.
So
Jordan.
just the
Yeah.
support that we
Yeah.
had around us
Yeah.
Yeah.
really helped get us through that
Yeah,
sort of
definitely.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, that's great. What would you say to someone who is going through this struggle at the moment? Have you got any advice that you would give or pointers of what you would say?
I guess what we're saying, what we've learned, obviously with patience, but it's easier said than done to someone that's
Yeah.
going through it.
Yeah.
Because I know what they'll be going through. I know how they'll be feeling. So some of it's quite personal. So it's probably not something I'd like to probably touch on at the moment. But if I understand what men, especially men, are probably going through at this point of not being able to provide, just the anxiousness that might be around it and everything that comes with it. But I would say if there is anyone that does need or wants any support, I'm more than happy to speak to them on a personal sort of level on that. Because I know it's such a personal thing, and and it's quite difficult as a man really, because I've always quite an open person anyway, so I'd happily speak about it. But I don't really know of many people, of men that have been through it personally.
Yeah.
So I know it's always nice if someone knows of someone that has been through it to touch base and just to ask questions of how they handled it and just have someone to talk to really.
Yeah. I think having the support of your friends and family has been a big one. I wouldn't have liked to have navigated this on our own.
No. Yeah.
I feel like having a support group, a network and everything is vital really.
Yeah. I suppose some people could shut themselves
They
off.
could be,
couldn't they?
and not talk about it, and not ask, any questions or anything.
Yeah.
I kind of created a little mini Instagram account of this of our journey, and that helped me a little bit. Just to put it all on
Document
there and
things,
just
yeah.
document things. And that helped, and I followed a few people that were in the same boat really. And that helped me as well. Just knowing that actually it's not just us. Because it is quite a common thing, and in different ways. There's lots of different stories and different journeys, and everyone's is different. That's what I've learnt as well. So not one is the same really. You could have the same few problems and things, but it is all very different for everyone and how people cope with it. But definitely. Trusting God throughout the whole process.
One thing that we noticed as well on we joined when Ewan was before Ewan was born, you did a preparation antenatal classes. We didn't speak to everyone, but from what we understood, there was probably 12 couples, and at least 3 of those had been in was through the IVF
Oh,
journey.
wow.
So that
Yeah.
was like a 25% sort of.
Yeah.
So it's quite a common,
Yeah.
more common than what you think.
Yeah.
When you're in it, and you might feel alone.
Yeah.
It's you're not quite as alone as you may think in
Yeah.
the situation.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you so much. It's been really good and amazing. The miracle of you having a baby, you and now, it's just amazing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today, and please look out for our other At the Table episodes.